Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Sunday Live. It is 1 p.m. Sunday, December 2nd. That's Pacific Standard Time. And you are on the Awaken the World YouTube channel. My name is Garhen, and today we are going to have a discussion on surviving Christmas. And you know what the really funny thing about this is this hit on me. We've been watching a number of animated and assorted Christmas specials and some not animated movies and some mixes. And the reason being is there's a lot of messages there, and you see both sides of the story, but both sides of what we've been sold. And we of course do this, for about 10 minutes 3 times a day, and it takes us a while to get through anything. But in this last one, one of the things that Kelly caught on to too was the idea that if you were good, you received gifts, and if you were bad, you didn't. You got coal in the stocking. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, so we're just going to back this up a minute. First, I guess we need to have a quick discussion regarding the group privacy policy. We originally had it as a public group. The reason being was to encourage people to come on board. And there has been some discussion that people would like to be able to share things in a more private setting. So what we're looking at doing for the, sometime in this next upcoming week is making the group private and keeping the page public. So when Kelly or I do posts, for example, we will post them to the page, the Awaken the World page, and then share them into the group. Any posts done within the group are by their nature private and stay within the group, and so do the comments. Just because you comment does not transfer that post somewhere else. And we're going to go that way and give it a try and see if that encourages more people to be a little more free when it comes to what they're willing to discuss. The issue or fear is that some of the other individuals involved in what they would consider their difficulties would, find out and cause more flack or more confusion or more difficulty. And we certainly don't want that either. So with that being said, look forward to seeing that in the next week. Let's talk about surviving Christmas. And this came up, because in one of the first things we had watched, there was a commercial within the movie, and it was surviving the holidays, what people need to do to survive the season. And I said to Kelly that it's a shame that at some point this season became something that is needed to be survived, not something to be joyfully looked forward to. And, one of the things that happens at Christmas, and it's part of the lie, but it's, as far as lies goes, as a lie goes, it wasn't a lie as a child that really did us any harm per se. And that is the idea, of course, of the magic of Christmas, that magic that we felt as children. And, I have to say, growing up quite poor and without a lot of money, and oh, Kelly's giving me strange looks from all of a sudden. It's like, she says she wants carrot cake. Okay, honey. It's okay. I just have to give her her pill. Hold on. No, honestly, there's a fantastic smelling carrot cake in the oven right now, and then Kelly's gonna make a cream cheese frosting for it. And she always cooks this amazing food, and she does it with very little sugar and oil, and keeps it as healthy as possible. And this carrot cake even has coconut in it. And yeah, the smell is making my mouth water. And pretty soon I'm going to be drooling out the side of my mouth. But, you know, it has to cool. Frosting has to be done. So, you know, as a child, we had this magical feeling in us around the Christmas season. And for me as a child, even though I had a hard time believing in Santa Claus, because as I said, we were very poor, and there were some years where there simply wasn't anything under the tree. There would be a few things in a stocking, or less. I remember one year where there was simply nothing at all. We had a couple mandarin oranges and some nuts to break open, and we shared in a turkey dinner, and that was our supper. That was our Christmas day. And in many ways, we were still blessed far more than many people in the world. But as a child, being poor, Christmas for me was about hope. It was about the idea, wrongly so, that if I was good and behaved myself, that there was hope that someone or something would recognize that, and there would be a reciprocal reward coming at Christmas time. Sort of a gift for the end of the year. And you know, when we look deeply at Christmas and we look at the history of where it comes from, of course we see that it comes out of ancient traditions involving the end of the darkest night of the year and the beginning of the move. Like, we've made it into the depths. We've gone as deep into the darkness of the year. And now we have a week-long celebration of moving back into the light, moving back into the rebirth again, back into the sun. And in this celebration, oftentimes in the days, in the feasts of Saturnalia, in the Roman days, the masters and slaves, which had a very structured and amicable, in most cases, arrangement, would trade places. The slaves would become the masters, and the masters would become the slaves, and people would party together and laugh and sing and exchange gifts to show and it didn't matter what you had, the bounty was everywhere. It was shared, it was community. And of course, with the birth of the Roman Catholic Church and the twisting of Christmas into Christ's birth, and then the commercialization of such through the creation of Santa Claus as we know him in the Western world, we have this monster that has a beautiful face and an ugly face, just like the yin and yang. And that's part of this. We're going to talk about that. This monster creates massive depression in the holidays. This depression is caused by many things. The depression, you know, first and foremost, begins as a stress. Oftentimes, families overburdened with debt already, facing credit cards nearly maxed out, paying higher heating bills, higher electrical bills in the wintertime, are faced with situations where just the season alone, the stress of providing those gifts, the stress of showing your children and your loved ones how much you love them through spending money on them is enough to make anyone depressed. And it does create depression. It creates chronic overspending in order to try and please, to try and keep up with your rich sister or your rich neighbor or your rich friend. The lie behind it, of course, is that Christmas has anything to do with gifts. It really doesn't. You can choose it to have to do with gifts. We personally don't usually exchange too much. We go out and we hit the dollar store and we buy our own things, and then Kelly wraps them up and they go in the stocking. And they're often cute little things. And when we put the tree up yesterday, you know, we each were able to open one. And I opened my little 6-in-1 solar kit. It's all in pieces, little solar panel. You can build 6 different little objects that run on solar power. It's interesting. It keeps the mind functional, and it was $3. That's the sort of gifts that we have. It's not about the gifts though, and really, it's about what you decide to make it. You know, Kelly was really struggling this morning, and that was the other reason why I decided that this Surviving Christmas was necessary to do. You know, her family still alienates her, still uses whatever excuse they want to hold on to for their own anger and so-called pain at her choices to alienate her. And as I said to her today, it is them who have missed the point of family. Because family does not judge. Family only cares that everyone is together, that everyone is loved and shared in the same space. For Christmas, choose your own truth of Christmas. Don't buy into the ideas that gifts will make anyone feel more loved by you. As a matter of fact, ultimately, the objects we foist upon others at Christmas out of a spirit of love often end up causing pain. Watch the first person in line on Boxing Day who's steaming mad because their child was a crying mess Christmas morning because their toy arrived, and when they unboxed it, there was a piece missing, or it was broken. Choose your own definition at Christmas time. You know, I spent many, many years alone at Christmas, many years in Christmas in foreign countries. One Christmas, as a matter of fact, alone in the middle of the jungle on Christmas Day. I had Christmas Day out there alone in the jungle. I sat with the spirit of Christmas as Christmas is represented to me. Dealing with being alone, and speaking of alone in the jungle at Christmas, there are a lot of people who are alone in our concrete jungles, alone in the cities. And of course, our advertising, our movies, everything we see and hear speaks of this togetherness. We see these smiling families in all the advertisements, and neighbors out laughing with each other and throwing snowballs. But I notice as we walk the streets, even in our small community where such things are much more common than the large city, we don't really see that. As I said to Kelly, Halloween is when you see people out and about and knocking on each other's doors and smiling and laughing and having fun with each other. far more than I see at Christmas time. We are one human family, and though you may be alone this Christmas, there is always somewhere and someone who you can be alone with. There are missions, there are Christmas dinners put on by well-meaning people in churches and other organizations, and no matter what you may have in your life financially or not financially, you are always welcome at these places. Because in truth, the riches on this planet are not the riches of the gifts and the riches of the money to buy the gifts. They are the riches of spirit, the riches of our true selves. You are not alone. This is the beautiful thing about spirit. No matter what, during this season, you are encircled and held and loved. Give yourself a gift this season and take the pressure off. Let go of the programming. Engage in a thought exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that you know nothing about Christmas at all. You've just come here, and this is your first Christmas ever. Allow yourself to choose Christmas without the programming. See past the need and the stress and the feelings of guilt and fear that come out around shopping for others, around buying for others. Give instead of your time and experience with another, any other. As I said, I've spent many Christmases alone, and I do recall one year where in a fit of anger, I was living on the 6th floor apartment, and in a fit of anger, I picked the tree up and opened the balcony doors and threw the tree off of the top of the 6th floor. And it turns out that that's illegal. You can't throw Christmas trees off your balcony from 6 floors up, turns out. And, you know, I'll tell you the story behind that and the reason why it's important to watch what your own mind does to you in this season. You know, for me, I had expected friends to arrive for Christmas. And normally I spent Christmas alone, and I was quite fine with that. But what happened is I allowed myself to begin to have expectations, to begin to imagine how it was going to unfold, to make up all these stories in my head about what it should, watch that word should, look like. And of course, it started out with a massive snowstorm that the plane was supposed to arrive Christmas Eve, while by Christmas morning, the plane still had not landed yet. They hadn't been able to take off, never mind get there. Well, I threw the tree off the balcony about 1 hour before they showed up by taxi. You see, the plane had actually left in the morning, first thing. And they had made it there and not told me, and their intent was to surprise me. And in my own frustration, an hour before the surprise knocked on my door, Merry Christmas, came in with the gifts and everything else, the tree was already dead. We all had a good laugh when we looked down off the top of the balcony and saw the tree down there on the ground. You know, this morning, the boy child, Danyan, our boy, was talking with his mom about his plans for Christmas with the rest of the family, and that really set Kelly off. It really did. She had a little meltdown this morning. And we had to review how our programming and that which we choose to think, and especially that word should, will twist what really is and create a terrible reality for you during Christmas. And that reality will feel very real, and it will be real to you, but it is not real. The true beauty of Christmas is in our willingness to express love to complete strangers. But how far more difficult it is to express love to the ones who we know so well. What does expressing love in the holiday season mean? If you truly wish to love during Christmas time, allow your judgments to fade during this season. Allow the should and should nots to disappear just for the next 23 days. Give yourself the opportunity to experience others as they are, with complete acceptance from you as they are. And see if this is not the best gift that you can give yourself and to others this holiday. It's not about the toys. It's not about the gifts, the objects. It's not about the food. It's about the oneness. The oneness which includes everyone. No one left out. You know, I said to Kelly this morning, unfortunately, it doesn't matter if there are 8 of your family members sitting in one place and you are not allowed to sit at that table. It is those 8 who do not understand family. Not you alone sitting at your own table, wishing they were sitting there with you. Don't allow your mind to take control of your holiday. Focus on the good you see. Do not get caught up in the commercialism. And when I say that, I mean in the spending for your own sake, but do not get caught up in becoming judgmental about what you see. Choose for the next 23 days very carefully what your attention brings into your mind when it comes to this season. Fill yourself with those things that give a sense of love and warmth and togetherness and gratitude and love for each other. Allow the rest to pass by. All these toys, all these lights, all these glimmering shiny trees, all these expensive gifts, they already exist. You don't need to go out and purchase them. You don't need to rail against others in their shopping madness. Take for yourself the gift of the season, the stillness of the descent into night, the death of this year, the chance for a new beginning and a new dawn and a new day. Much love to you. Look forward to additional meditations on the group page this week now that our internet is back up to speed. And of course, we have our New Year's Eve 12-hour day at the monastery. a perfect way to get into alignment and prepare ourselves for the new year. You know, they often say that what you're doing New Year's Eve at midnight will be reflected in most of the next year. I prefer to be in a state of tranquility and peace and meditative oneness, and allow that to extend into 2019. Much love to you all. Be at peace this holiday season. Don't buy into the stress. Take from it what you choose, what enlightens you. And we will see you again soon. Again, namaste.